Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Fast Break, the fantasy basketball show where you get the advice you need in 12 minutes or less. This week, we're going to be doing the weekly report and we're going to be recapping week 11. Joining me in this episode is my friend Marco. Marco, how are you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! How you doing? I'm okay.
I'm doing well. By the way, folks, I'm Eric Ong, your host of the show.
Oh,
So, since we only have 12 minutes, let's get right to it. We're going to be recapping the players who did well in week 11 of fantasy of the 2021-22 NBA season based on 9 cat scoring. We're gonna, we cherry picked a handful of names, players who, were within the top 50 and performed well, and talk a little bit of why they might have done well. And at the end, we might, if there's still time, run through a bunch of names, players outside the top 250 who were, I guess you could call them disappointments for the week. Anyway, without further ado, here we go. Coming in at number two, ranked second overall last week, is LeBron James. The ageless phenom was averaging 34.5 points per game, 4.8 threes per game, 11.3 rebounds, 6.8 assists, steals, blocks, you name it. The Kings got it. And as far as I'm concerned, he is so focused on getting the Lakers back to the playoffs. He's willing to do anything and everything, and it appears he has to do anything and everything to get them there because Russell Westbrook has frankly been kind of trash. So with Anthony Davis, out for still a few more weeks, we're gonna see LeBron James really keep up this crazy torrid pace, and not just for a guy his age, but for a player of any age in the NBA right now.
well, Ricky Rubio's here, number three, but sad to say his season's over with a torn ACL. It's like the end of my saga of not sticking with him. But during the season, he was really doing well, and I was kicking myself for dropping him so early because his usage in the past 2 weeks was 28.8, and last week he was at 33, and then he blew out his knee. It was a sad end of a story for this season for Ricky Rubio, but hopefully he gets back next year, maybe around February, maybe. We
Yeah,
shall see.
maybe, but it's just notable to note for our listeners and viewers that this is the same ACL that Rubio tore back in 2012. So he'll be only the third NBA player to ever come back after tearing the same ACL. So we'll see. It's good at his age. It's a big roll of the dice, and frankly, I might be avoiding him next season, despite his great career year.
He's like the Spanish
Well,
LeBron
almost year.
James. He's the
Wow.
Spanish LeBron James for longevity,
I
huh?
wish I wish we could call him that, but
Yeah.
sadly, that longevity belongs to one or both of the Gasol brothers, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of longevity and bum knees, Kristaps Porzingis came finished last week at number 11, and this is despite missing one game for rest purposes because he was tearing it up with 27.3 points per game, 2.0 threes, and most notably 2.3 blocks per game. We're seeing Porzingis playing at the really high level. He played like this a couple of seasons ago, and he's back at it again. It's going to be a constant issue, him having to rest every so often. But as long as the averages are there, and if he's able to play 3 out of 4 games in four, when the Mavs have 4 game weeks, he's just going to be amazing. And
I'll take it,
congratulations
right?
if you
If you have a
trusted
share,
Porzingis.
I'll take
Yeah,
it. Three out of
yeah.
four. Next guy is Herbert Jones. You got injuries to Valanciunas and Brandon Ingram, and he's making the most out of it. 20 points, 6.5 rebounds. Here's the biggest thing: 1.5 steals and 3 blocks per game. And his field goal attempts has increased from 10 to 16 a game past week. His usage up to 21. But then again, someone's got to score in New Orleans. What do you think, Eric?
Well, I was attracted to Herb Jones's stat set mainly for the defense because he wasn't really known as a scorer, and he only really
Mhm.
stepped up his scoring with a few games with double digits recently during the absences of those aforementioned stars. I personally picked him up in my 8 cat roto league, and I dropped who did I drop? Eric Gordon, who might miss time with his groin injury, which has been recurring throughout the season. And I'm pretty happy with that move, frankly.
I think so too.
Oh, wow. Speaking of ageless wonders, since we're on the topic of LeBron James earlier, Kevin Love has actually found a way to turn back the clock. It's fine. The Cavs, players were trickling in this week as, people were coming back from the COVID protocols. But Kevin Love was in full beast mode, scoring 25.8 points per game, 5.33 pointers per game. That's crazy. Um, Probably unsustainable as well. 8.5 rebounds, 50 field goal. Hey, does this remind you of the Wolves, Kevin Love, or not? I mean,
Almost. If he gets double digit rebounds, then it's definitely vintage Kevin Love. Remember that year?
yeah, that was he was he was a reliable 2010 machine plus 2.5 threes per game. He was a beast, but considering his role, his quote unquote reduced role in Cleveland, he's still been able to step it up in week 11. So kudos to him. I think that obviously the 5.3s is not going to be sustained, and he's a sell high candidate as far as I'm concerned. Uh, Speaking of surprise performers coming out of the Lakers, providing some help for LeBron James and getting the Lakers a win here and there is Malik Monk, who in week 11 is averaged 20 points per game, 2.8 threes per game, and 1.3 blocks per game. But the most notable aspect of his stat line is his 56.3 shooting from the field. And it's not normally something you see from a 3-point shooter, right, Marco? So
Yeah.
normally you expect your field goal to get dragged. But if a guy is hitting 2.8 threes and is still knocking down 56% of his shots from the field, he's actually giving you a net positive in that category. So, were you able to grab Malik Monk last week in any of your
I,
leagues?
I was looking at him, but I've had him twice. I had shares of him twice already this season, and anytime I pick him up, he goes on a slump. So I'm always on the tail end of his hot streak. So I let him go this time around.
Actually, that's a very good point for our listeners. Monk is a very streaky shooter, even back in his days with the Hornets.
Hmm.
He's somebody who I would prefer to stream for his 3-point shooting. And if there's anything that comes in as a bonus, like the high scoring volume or the blocks, I'll just take that as gravy.
Yeah.
All right, Amit Yurt 7. Uh, he is stepped up in the absence of Bam Adebayo for the Heat. He's been starting for the Heat this week and averaging 14 points, 14.3 rebounds, 2 steals per game, 48.8 field goal shooting. He's not a great shot blocker. I think he was like point 0.8 blocks per game, but the double double and the 14 rebounds. Um, this rookie was cleaning up on the glass, and he was able to finish at 31st overall in 9 cat. Omet is a hold for as long as Bam Adebayo remains on the sidelines. I like this kid. Just don't expect a lot of blocks, but you're gonna get your steals and boards for sure.
Kobe White is doing his best to keep up with DeMar DeRozan. 18.5 points, 4 threes, and still dishing out 5 dimes a game with 1.5 steals. I have 2 shares of him, and I'm happy I picked him up this week. He was
Well,
playing. He was playing 4 games, so he gave you 16 3 pointers this week. Lovely.
more or
Thank you so
less.
much, Mr. White.
Yeah, roughly. Yes, White has been amazing. He definitely smashed a lot of expectations this week. He slid into the starting lineup in the absence of Alex Caruso, who has a sprained foot. Caruso is still set to miss, I believe, a couple of more games. So you're going to be able to um, squeeze out a bit more value from White over the next week. So
He's
hold
shooting
on to him, and
50%.
only I yeah. So
Eric, he's shooting
he's just going to be
50%
good for now.
for the week also. So he's helping
Yes,
out
yes,
there with a minor
yes,
dip in the
yes.
free throw percentage, but we'll take that. But
But I expect him to play more of a sixth man role once
mhm,
Caruso gets back. But
yeah.
we'll see. Whatever it is, White has definitely earned himself um, some brownie points. I'm sure over there in Chicago.
Oh, Alec Burks from my
Yeah,
Knicks.
you're our
My God.
resident Knicks fan, so I think you should take this one.
Ooh. It's a peculiar situation over there in New York where we got Derrick Rose had ankle surgery and he'll get reevaluated in 8 weeks. But Kemba Walker's having problems with his gimpy knees, so he's in and out of the lineup. So you got Alec Burks stepping up in the point guard spot while quickly is still part of the second team. But he's doing pretty well. He's averaged 15.3 points per game the last week, with my Knicks going up and down with still 53.8 field goal percentage. Man, I wish I picked him up again. But it's always, again, another on again, off again kind of streaky shooter. He's a point guard, but you don't see much for the assists for him.
Yeah, because he's more of a combo guard, actually, as
Yep.
far as
Hmm.
I can see. But finishing 43rd overall last week, this comes on the heels of week 10 performance by Kemba Walker, who was reinserted back into the rotation and exploded for season high scoring, etc., etc.
And a triple
Had
double.
and a triple double, all of that. Then suddenly, one game
Hmm.
he started sucking. Then the
Yep.
next game he's DNP because his knees are acting up.
Yeah.
So, um, at the end of the day, and I've been saying this for quite a long time, don't trust Kemba Walker, or at least don't trust Kemba Walker's knees, to be specific.
Hmm.
If you have shares of Alec Burks, despite him coming in and out of the starting lineup, I'd consider him a hold. Even in standard leagues, you might have to bench him on weeks when Kemba randomly shows up every now and then. But Alec Burks is going to be a steady, roto friendly guy because he shoots threes and steals the ball. And steals are hard to come by on the wire. So yeah, I like he's the one player on your Knicks team that I really like this season. Alec Burks, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I know we said top 50, but I made an exception this time around because I just wanted to honor the hard work that Jalen Smith of the Suns put in. Both DeAndre Ayton and JaVale McGee went into protocols, and that just simply opened up opportunities for Jalen Smith to start and shine for the Suns. I mean, in week 11, he averaged 16 points per game, 10.5 rebounds per game, 1.3 blocks per game, on 56.1 shooting from the field. It was crazy. And this relatively quiet player who has been, mostly out of the rotation last season and the early part of this season is finally showing some passion for the game. And he was even issued a technical, quote unquote, for taunting after a very emphatic slam over, I believe it was Hornets Mason Plumlee, just on Sunday night. So the guy's really feeling it. I don't know how many minutes he's gonna get once both Aiton and McGee return, because he's definitely, uh, it's too tight as far as the stretch fours are concerned, because he's more of a prototypical big, as opposed
Hmm.
to, let's say, Jay Crowder and Cameron Johnson, who have that stretch four minutes locked in. So when Aiton comes back, I'm not sure if Smith is a hold, but for now, while Aiton remains out, he's definitely somebody to look at.
How many
Um,
shares do you have of him?
I was able to pick him up in two leagues. I'm still holding
Mm,
on to him, but I'm gonna
yeah.
drop him most likely when Aiton comes back. But he's an amazing prospect, and if you're in a dynasty league, was a great eye test for the guy. That if for some reason he finds himself on another team, that he's shown that he can actually produce when he's given the minutes
Given
and
the chance.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I decided that we might go into a little bit of overtime this week.
Mm,
Instead of talking about the disappointments, fine, let's just run through them really quickly. Um, Outside of the top 250, we have Grayson Allen at 250, 260, Evan Fournier, 268, Kelly Oubre Jr., 278, Kyle Anderson. Wow, more Knicks for you. 286, RJ Barrett. That's two Knicks uh, outside of the 250 this week. That probably explains a couple of their losses.
oof.
Jakob Portal, 291. Zubac, Ivica Zubac at 296. 311, Alperen Shingun. Sorry if I mis spelled his name in the graphic, but there you go. Um, a lot of these guys, I don't think are really meant to be outside of the top 250. I'd consider guys like Ubre, Portal, definitely, even RJ Barrett. To be honest,
Yeah, he
uh,
started well. He really
these
did start
guys are
well.
buy low based on what they did this week. They
Mm.
disappointed this week, so you might want to field buy low offers for those guys, especially for Shingun, in the light that I consider him a breakout candidate out of that Rockets group. And to round out, all
You
right,
still
our
wanna
show.
bet? You still wanna get people from the Rockets? I see.
All right. Um, would it be a week 11 recap without pointing, without discussing uh, what happened on
Mm.
the in that Houston Rockets game, where just to summarize, Kevin Porter Jr. and Christian Wood were called out by assistant coach
Assistant
John
coach.
Lucas. Yeah, there was a heated argument between Lucas and the players, and there were some items even tossed, and KPJ left the arena before the second half, and Christian Wood actually refused to be subbed in the second half. Now, I think that's going to be a problem. I've seen Kenyon Martin picked up in, I think, one or two 16 team leagues. Uh, I think that, I don't know. Houston's a mess. So, your thoughts,
Like,
quick thoughts, Marco, on this situation where you have
y-
hot headed players, problematic players. I wouldn't want to be the coach of the Rockets. But what are your thoughts on that situation?
well, Houston definitely has a problem, and it's turned toxic. I don't know if it's gonna get fixed. I think the coaching staff's gonna be politely let go. They're gonna just say that they're too old to coach these young kids, and then there's gonna be a youth movement going into Houston. But in the meantime, I've been weaning myself out of Houston because my mantra's always good players on bad teams, but this is just bad. I'm just barely holding on to Christian Wood because of his value. I have one share, but really it's a bad situation there, and you don't know who to count on. It could be Christian
Are
Wood
you
this
open
week.
to exiting your position in Christian Wood? Would you, assuming he ever gets to play again this season for the Rockets and plays well, are you going to try to sell him?
Oh yeah. I'm always up for a trade. It's not
No, but is he
it's just
someone in
fun.
particular you're looking to offload
Sure.
strategically as you
Yeah.
maneuver? All right,
Yeah. I
that's
need
that's
I need
interesting.
some more.
Yes,
I can I
I
can I can
concur.
get
I
two
agree.
middle Yeah,
I,
I
I, I
need
have
pieces in
one
my team.
share. I have one share of Jay Sean Tate, and I love him.
Mm,
He's probably one of the more stable Rockets players right now, and I'm really liking what I'm getting out of him. I have two shares, I guess, long term shares for Shingun. I really think that he can break out, especially if Christian Wood gets traded on or before the trade deadline,
mm,
and if he is, well, just my 2 cents, viewers slash listeners. There are a lot of teams slash coaches that value harmony in the locker room. Now, if you have guys who have attitude problems or maturity issues like KPJ had in the past with the Cavs, Wood has right now, and Porter has right now with the Rockets. Um, and if they cannot respect authority, there is going to be problems. And one of the ways that the team can resolve those problems is by letting those players go or sitting them, or, I mean, the Rockets aren't competing for a playoff spot. Whether they play Porter Jr. or play Christian Wood, it doesn't matter. Or not, right? They're
well,
actually
they're
tanking.
sitting John Wall, so
Yeah, they're sitting
really
John Wall
they can sit
intentionally.
whoever they can
They
sit
can
whoever
sit
they want.
whoever and literally everyone if they
Yeah,
wanted to. Yeah, right. So um, I agree with Marco. Offload your Christian Wood whenever you have the chance. And yeah, that's our recap for week 11. Thank you very much for joining us. That's it.